Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Jonathan, and welcome back to the Pack Talk. In this video, we're going to go over the B name teams in the NFL. We're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens and then go all over also the Buffalo Bills. Two very high-powered teams in this league right now. Both very well could be Super Bowl contenders, and we'll get more into that right now. So starting with the Baltimore Ravens, at quarterback they have Lamar Jackson, which in my opinion is a top 5 quarterback in this league. You would want him on your team, trust me. Even though people like to nitpick his stats and his playoff wins, he has one more than Kyler Murray currently, which in my last video I covered Kyler Murray and kind of my concerns. And even though you still want him on your team, I'd still rather have Lamar Jackson. You guys have to remember that last season, before he went down, they started 8-3, the Ravens, and then when he went down, they lost out, finished 8-9. So that just shows you how vital and his importance on the Ravens. And at backup quarterback, they have Tyler Huntley, which I don't know what to make much of Tyler Huntley. I think he's a semi-good backup. He had the stats during last season when Lamar Jackson went down. He tried his best, but ultimately could not generate wins for the team. At running back, they get J.K. Dobbins back, and they get the Gus Edwards, who's still kind of injured right now, and so is J.K. Dobbins, but J.K. Dobbins is definitely blowing off all the reports right now and saying, I will be ready week 1. So we'll see what happens when that time comes. And the Gus Edwards, I think he's still injured. I don't think he'll be back for week 1, but we'll see. And they picked up Mike Davis from the Falcons, which I didn't know. So they got Mike Davis at the running back 3, which is, pretty solid running back core in my opinion. Top 2, J.K. Dobbins is still very unproven. He was injured last year, like I said, 2 years ago. He was a rookie. So, and, he fared pretty well. And I think he could be a very, pretty good all-star in the NFL, and good for the Ravens to take some of the heat off of Lamar Jackson, so he doesn't have to do everything with his legs, even though he's perfectly capable of doing it. At wide receiver, this is where they kind of need help, and hopefully, hopefully Rashad Bateman plays out for them. People are talking very highly of him right now, and a lot of people think he can definitely fill in Marquise Brown's shoes. He went to Arizona Cardinals, as I mentioned in the last video. Marquise Brown, he had a pretty good last year, but I feel like second half of the season, he kind of fell back to being just an average wide receiver, not really a perennial all-star. So that's what the Ravens hope, is that Rashad Bateman can just kind of, do something. They need wide receiver help for sure. Odell is still on the market, and he's one of the players on the wide receiver market that probably would fit good on the Baltimore Ravens right now. Also a wide receiver that's worth mentioning is Devin Duvernay. I don't got much on him. I think he's not that good of a wide receiver, but he's someone that fits. At tight end, of course, they have the second best, if not the best, I know tight end is Mark Andrews. I know there's a big debate. Any way you slice it, the top 3 tight ends right now is Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, George Kittle. That's probably how I'd rank them right now. When George Kittle is healthy, he has a major debate to be the top 2, top 1 tight end in this league, but he's never healthy. But when he is, yeah. And they drafted Isaiah Likely out of the draft, which will be the backup tight end, which I don't know much about him really, but he's the backup tight end. It's good they got a fresh feet in there. And then at kicker, they have the best kicker of all time, in my opinion, at Justin Tucker, who just set the NFL record at 66 yards at Ford Field. So now we go into the defense, which I think is most vital on this team. We have to remember that defense was out heavily last year. Like, they had no defense, which also led to them not winning many games. Defense just could not hold their own. But, they're going to get Calais Campbell. They have Patrick Queen. They have Marcus Peters. They have Marcus Williams. And they have Marlon Humphrey. All big names that are top 10 easily at defense in this league. And, you combine this offense and you combine that with that defense. And you, in my opinion, you have AFC Championship aspirations, in my opinion, if not Super Bowl. They have the win now team to get this done. They have stars. They have a star at quarterback. They have stars at running back, and they have stars at tight end. They only lack at wide receiver, like I said. But all that aside, plenty of teams have succeeded without really a top wide receiver. Mark Andrews is basically that number one guy. I see Lamar always use him, and even the backups use him. And, you have Justin Tucker at kicker, who's reliable from anywhere on the field, really, for 65 plus now. So, yeah, you combine those, you're going far. This team should go far. And, it's kind of putting some pressure on John Harbaugh here to finally get this team to the next level. It's time. And, Lamar is also going through a contract dispute right now. They're trying to get him a new contract before his rookie deal is done. I think it's going stale right now. Last time I heard, I don't know exactly the updates on that. But okay, let's move forward. So my top 3 fantasy at 1. I think 1, 2 interchangeable. I have Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews. I don't know how you set your priorities with fantasy, but personally, I would go with Lamar because tight ends are kind of deep. You can get away with letting tight ends slip a little bit, I think, this year. You need definitely more high-end positional players this year rather than going after a tight end early. Unless you're in a 12-team league, that's about it. I would draft Travis Kelce round 2, round 3 in a 12-team league because wide receivers, in my opinion, are thin. You need that. Notable, I have a couple notable. Rashad Bateman, kind of unproven, like I said, but he could turn into something. He could be that dark horse draft pick. I think that he can be. Then you have Ravens defense, which, like I said before, they're getting all of those stars back. Could very well be a top 6 defense in fantasy. And then you have Justin Tucker at kicker. Like I said, could get you 5-6 points easily. He rarely misses. He's probably the best kicker this league has ever seen. Before I move on, my take on the Ravens, like I said, AFC Championship aspirations for sure. They should win 12 games easy, even with a very hard AFC competition. The division they're in isn't too hard. They could definitely play spoiler to the reigning AFC North champion, the Bengals. It should be very interesting how that division plays out. I plan on making videos about the separate divisions and how those will play out. I think they can go 12-5 though, the Ravens. Moving on to the Buffalo Bills now. This is also these two teams could probably meet up in the AFC Championship game depending on how seeding plays out. The Buffalo Bills at quarterback probably have the best quarterback in the league next to Aaron Rodgers, and that would be Josh Allen. And then their backup quarterback is Case Keenum. Running back, kind of flip-flop about, the Ravens and the Bills. The Bills have still a running back problem. I think they drafted someone in the draft. I don't really remember. I couldn't find any information on that. I thought they did. But how they have it listed right now is they have Devin Singletary at running back 1, which we all know him. And now, instead of Zach Moss, they have James Cook at running back 2. And then they have Zach Moss. So I don't really have an opinion on that. Devin Singletary could be useful for screens and whatnot, but I don't think he's that good of just a running back ground pound ground and pound team, or running back, my bad. Now, wide receiver, they have Stephon Diggs, which is also a very good wide receiver in this league. You'd love to have him. Then they have Gabriel Davis, who just is coming off that amazing AFC divisional game against the Chiefs, who got 4 touchdowns. But the overtime rules are. I'm glad for the playoffs per se. We can have discussion about that too in another video. I just got a whole bunch of plans made out for this channel. But about the overtime rules, I'm so happy they fixed that. At least for the playoffs for now, it's a good experiment on the NFL, and I give them an A for effort on that. Where was I? They actually have a pretty stacked wide receiver group. Then they have Jamison Crowder, which, he's not too shabby. And then Isaiah McKenzie, who's also worth noting. At tight end, they have Dawson Knox, who could arguably be, a top 5 tight end, I guess. He's not excellent, but he's not bad, he's just a good tight end to have. And then that kicker, they have Tyler Bass, which reliable, not a bad kicker. On defense, this team is also loaded at defense. You have Ed Oliver, you have Von Miller, who they just signed to a 6-year deal, which is kind of crazy because he'll be 39 when that contract is done. We'll see if this ageless wonder keeps up, because he loves the playoffs and he shines in the playoff games. He loves those bright lights. Then you have Tremaine Edwards and Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, and Micah Hyde. Enough said there. They have stacked defense. I'm going over the Bills quite fast here, but they basically speak for themselves. Their resume, take it as you will. They should. I'm just going to go over how I feel right now about them. I think this is the team that they need to finally get over the hump, and they're going to do it this year. They're going to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion. I think they can do it. I think last year, it bugs me. I think they were the best team. They just can't get past the Chiefs. I don't know what it is about the Chiefs. They just are their kryptonite right now. But I think this is the best team on paper, and it has been for about 2-3 years. I'd argue this would be year 3 of them being the best team on paper. Okay, going into the fantasy now. Josh Allen easily is number 1. You could take him early if you want because, again, he's another mobile quarterback and can also throw a very pretty ball. Then you have Diggs at wide receiver, and then I think a top 3 pick in fantasy-wise it would be the Bills' defense. Like I said, they're loaded at defense, very reliable. Notable take with a grain of salt. I only include them because I guess you need these position players, and they're not terrible. I'd say about a 10-plus team draft. I guess you draft Devin Singletary. I wouldn't. If he's your running back 1, you're screwed, I think. Flex. Nothing more, nothing less. Well, I guess not nothing less. If you can get him on your bench, that's pretty good, I think, in my opinion. And then Dawson Knox, which, honestly, I think he will be drafted pretty highly, per se. So, yeah, Devin Singletary, Dawson Knox, those are probably my only notable players on this, on the Buffalo Bills. Okay, thanks, guys, for tuning in to the B-name teams, Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills. If you guys are new to this channel and viewing for the very first time, I know I only have a couple videos out, but go ahead and click that subscribe button if you don't mind hearing me talk and want to know more on my takes on this upcoming season. Thanks, guys.